Today's episode is brought to you by Bones Coffee Company. You can forget about boring coffee when you drink Bones Coffee. Not only do they offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry cheesecake and maple bacon, they are a family-owned company that puts great detail not only in their coffee, but in the artwork that comes on each individual bag. Bones Coffee has a coffee club that will deliver your favorite coffee to your door every month. If that wasn't enough, they also have some amazing swag to offer. Check out Bones Coffee Company today. I'll have my affiliate links in the show notes for you. Hi guys, I'm your host, Sonova Cantrell, for another episode of True Crime Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about a really cool case out of Brooklyn, Washington. I have two of my favorite co-hosts online. I have Cricket Andrews, a fellow crime writer and victims advocate. How are you, Cricket?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I also have my favorite research assistant, Miss T. How are you, Miss T?
I'm doing good. I hope everybody else is doing good.
Tonight we are drinking Bones Coffee from Bones Coffee Company. I've got my chilled glass with ice in it. I'm going to add a little bit of cream to it. Now, Bones Coffee Company has all kinds of different flavors for you to try. I like to drink mine iced. Of course, the camera kind of blurs everything. I put a little shot of stevia in it. We're going to add something a little fun tonight. We're going to add some sugar-free caramel. We're going to add that in. And then tonight we are drinking Bones Coffee. It is hazelnut flavored. Of course, they have made it hazelnut. So make sure and check out my affiliate links there. Every time you buy some coffee, it helps me out. And then, of course, we got our little skull decanter for Bones Coffee. We're going to be making some iced coffee here for you guys. Now, tonight, let's try this. Stir, stir, stir. Perfect. I can't do it like the coffee lady does. There's a coffee lady on Instagram that goes, perfect. And I'm not that pissed. I'm not prissy enough to do it right. I'm like, yeah, it's good. We'll just put it that way. So I got to stop playing with my coffee. Tonight I have two different gifts. We always do a sharing contest on this show. If you share the live video, you will get put into the drawing at the end of the video. Now I always get these little prizes, and sometimes I have a hard time finding things for men. So today I do have some skull earrings. The camera always wants to change it. So these are my evidence bags. But these are the Bones earrings. But for you boys, I got something fun for you guys. I got bullets. So we got bullets, and you take the top off of this bullet, and it is an ink pen. So depending on whose name is drawn, you'll either get some bullets or you'll get some skull earrings. So make sure and check out Bones Coffee. All those things really help me out. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Okay, so let's see. We've got a whole bunch of people on. Haley, James, Marion, Karen, Venus. Hello, everybody. Hello. Man, that tastes really good with a little touch of caramel in it. I'll try not to play with my coffee all night. Okay. So today we are talking about Archer Ray Johnson. I heard you laugh at me. Archer Ray Johnson. Now, Arch, he was 41 years old. He was from Brooklyn. He was last seen in Brooklyn, Washington. He actually lived a short ways away from there. But he was there supposedly cutting wood with his brother that morning. So he was last seen on April Fool's Day, April 1st, 1986. Now, unfortunately, this case, we have kind of labeled this everything wrong with this case because we have found some glaring mistakes in the way these things were handled, and we not necessarily that we could do better, but that we wish this case was handled better. So hopefully if we point out some different things, maybe we can get this case solved. So this is what we're going to do. Archer Johnson, he was an avid outdoorsman. Now, this area of Washington is logger country. So everybody, a lot of the men there, they were basically lumberjacks. So they knew how to cut wood. They knew how to work with their hands. They were avid outdoorsmen. Now he was an avid outdoorsman himself. They said he was just under 6 foot tall. He was 175 pounds. Now, from what I read that he was 41. Now, the Charlie Project says he was 42. So I think he was actually 41 because his birthday wasn't till the 26th of the month. But we won't contest that. We will show you a picture of Mr. Johnson here. Let me see if I can get it pulled up here real quick, and we will show a picture of him. I lost my screen. Where did you go? So we're gonna show you who we're talking about. Okay, why is it not giving? There it is. Okay. Okay, so you guys let me know when you can see this gentleman. Can you see Arch?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the man we're talking about. He was a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky man, but he also liked to drink and had a drinking problem. And so his personality liked to change a bit when he drinks, which that happens to most people. So not only was he a fun-loving person, but he also liked to instigate bar fights, and he was kind of known for that type of thing. So he was kind of a brute of a man. He was very rugged and outdoorsy, but he would go missing. So on April 1st, his new wife had told him goodbye about 6 o'clock in the morning. He left his home and traveled to Brooklyn, Washington. He traveled there to help his brother cut a truckload of wood. Now, he helped his brother, I believe, until just after 11 or 11:30. His girlfriend lived across the road. His brother's name was Earl. His brother's girlfriend's name was Rosa. She lived just across the road from his brother, and she needed some assistance with a hay bale for her animals or whatever. And so he walked across and helped her. And when they said he left their location just before noon, so about 11:40 or so, he left his brother's house and was traveling towards Oakland, Washington, on Brooklyn Road. About 10 or 15 minutes later, Earl and his girlfriend Rosa left and took the same route. They found Archer's truck actually 15 miles away from the house. And it was kind of half stuck in the road, just a little ways. You could get around it, but it was kind of in the road. They said the keys were in the ignition, but strangely, the driver's door was standing open a ways. And kind of in the road. So as they drove by, she reached out the window and shut the door. They kind of looked around. They didn't see him. They didn't necessarily get out of the vehicle, but they drove on. Now, this is where things get pretty strange. So we're going to, I've made up some maps and got some maps out here so we can see what we're talking about. But we're talking 1986. So not only is this a very rural area, but the road that you're going to see now, Google still hasn't mapped it. I mean, it's still very rugged now, even though it's somewhat paved. Back then, it was a rutted dirt road. So I Googled some different things, but we're going to find out that Earl and Rosa, they say that they drove by his truck. They're going to say that they drove on to Oakville. They're going to say that they got gas in Oakville. They're going to say they went to the bank and cashed a check because they were going to give Earl $50. Then they went to Earl's house and he wasn't there. So they put the money in an envelope and tied it to his gate with a string, which is weird because Earl, Arch's family says that gate was never locked, and Earl would have known that. So they travel on after they tie some money to this guy's gate. They travel on and they go into 2 or 3 different towns, and then they go back. They find the money still tied to the gate, so they take the money off the gate. Then they travel to an intersection, not quite to where the truck was abandoned. And for some reason, he drops his girlfriend off there in case Arch drives by. Now, this is 4 or 5, 6 hours later. They drop her off at this corner in the middle of nowhere, and then he drives back to the town that he just left to get gas, and then he goes back to pick up Rosa. Oh my gosh, he hasn't drove by yet. Okay, so he picks her up off the side of the road. They drive to the truck. This time they say they got out. They said that they hollered a couple times. He didn't come to the truck, so they thought the smart thing to do would be to get in the truck since the keys were in the truck and drive the truck all the way back through Oakland, up north of Oakland to his house. And there, about 7 o'clock, his wife had just got home. She had worked a little bit late that night. They tell her that, sorry, Arch looks like he's missing. So they call the police and file a missing person report about 7:30 that evening. Okay, so I'm going to show you the rigmarole. That's a good country term that you guys, Cricket may not be used to. Cricket's my
no,
northerner.
I know that word.
I'm like, so I'm going to show you the rigmarole that they went through. And then you'll find out that Earl's story changed 2 or 3 times. You'll find out that the search was called off after 2 or 3 days. You're going to find all these crazy things that don't make sense. But Cricket, I will let you just give people your first thought when you got through listening to this case the first time. What was your first thought of this? Tell them that while I'm looking up the maps.
A lot of questions, but not really as far as who did it, because everything seems to lead back to 2 certain people. But one thing that bothers me too is, why did Rosa ask him to help rather than his boyfriend Earl? That's officially right off the bat red flag.
Her boyfriend, yeah. So we're gonna come in and talk about a lot of things. Tell me when you see this map, girls.
It's there.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to listen to a series of podcasts, and they're going to talk about different things that they think is odd. I will tell you, I don't think half the things they think is odd is odd. So, but that's just because they don't know. If you're from the country, a lot of these things aren't going to be odd to you. You know, they couldn't figure out why Earl had the $50 and why he was doing this $50 for this and for that. Well, long story short, Archer had some kind of bill he needed to pay on his truck for $50. Okay, he decides he's going to cut wood with his brother that morning. They cut a truckload of wood. They leave half of that truckload of wood at Earl's house for Earl, and then he's going to take the other half the truckload home. So to me, it doesn't seem far-fetched to think, okay, Earl's paying him for that half a load of wood is what the $50 is. Or maybe he's lending it to him. The $50 to me is irrelevant because, for one, we don't have any proof that he ever cashed a check to give $50 to Earl, to Archer. Everything that Earl says and Rosa says, you're going to have to figure out that you're going to have to question it, because once they start changing their stories, and then once you see this map and see how convoluted of a mess that they take of a route. Now, this road here, we're talking Brooklyn right here in the middle. I've tried to underline things. Brooklyn, Washington, Oakville, Washington, Elma, Brady, and McClary, I think is what it's called. It's up here. We'll look at it here in a second. So the other town that they went to is up here off the map. Okay. This road right here, along through here that they're following, I left the truck right about there because that's about 15 miles or so to Oakville. They said it was 15 miles away. Okay. Here's the thing about this road. Let me stop sharing this and go back over here, and we're going to share something else. I'm going to go to Google Earth, and I want to show you what this road looks like now. Okay, we're gonna zoom out here. Here's Brooklyn, right there on the map. You've seen it. This is the road we're talking about. Now, this road is very rugged and rural right now. So much so that Google can't even map it from here to there. So there's a big long space there that it cannot even map it. Okay. So we're gonna walk on the highway here. All right. Now, if you may not be able to see the screen, I don't know if you can see this water print right here. This says that it was updated as of 2024. So that means it is fairly recent. This is what the road looks like now. Okay. So it's pretty paved. So I mean, it's not too off a bat. It's pretty paved. But then you realize that this is the best part of the road. This is the best part just coming out of town. Now, picture all of this as a rugged dirt road, and you try to follow this road. I tried to follow this road. So I knew it didn't map it. So, okay, that's fine. But I'm going to follow the road. And so I was just going to try to follow it from a bird's eye view. Okay, so you can follow it a little ways and then you lose it. You can kind of keep an eye on it there because you can see the break in the trees. Okay, you keep having to zoom out to try to keep up with the road. You can kind of see it snaking through here. And then all of a sudden, where'd the road go? That right there is not the road. That's a timber line where they have broken it into, looks like a power line. You literally lose the road halfway. You're like, okay, where does it go? You literally lose the road halfway. And then if you zoom out enough and you go over here closer to Oakville, you can pick it up and bring it back out here. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you that this is a hard road to travel even today. Okay, so this isn't an easy road to travel. Now, they say that they left 10 minutes after him and that they said they left 10 minutes after him and they found him 15 miles down the road. Okay. This is where I want to, I'm going to change here again. We're going to go back to, here. Now this is just a random Google search. I asked, how far is it from Brooklyn, Washington to Oakville, Washington? It's only 18 miles, guys. Okay. So you would think driving like I do, it should take you 15 minutes to get there. Maybe 12. But in reality, it takes 37 minutes today. That means they can't drive over 30 to 35 miles an hour. If it still today takes you 37 minutes. So I'm sitting here going, okay, that I'm trying to give you time frames here and trying to establish something. So if this seems a little redundant, I'm sorry. Just stick with me for a second. Okay, so let's go back here to this basic map. Okay, so he supposedly left. Okay, they said he left the house at 11:40. Okay, so they left 10 minutes later. So they left approximately 10 minutes till noon. Okay, then they follow him along this line, along this road. And I contend if it was dirt, they probably had to travel less than 30 miles an hour. So there's a rutted dirt road. So here you go. You come along. All of a sudden, they find the truck about right here. Okay. They go on past the truck. Okay. They go on past the truck. I just messed up my map here. They go on past the truck to Oakville. Okay. Oakville. Then they travel up to his house, and this is where they drop the money off. So I put a little house here. That's approximately where he lived. Then they travel all the way up here to Elma. And they go over here to Brady. They tell the police that they went all the way to Brady to get potatoes. Okay. They went back to Elma, picked up Earl's daughter, or talk to Earl's daughter, something to do with Earl's daughter. And then they went up here to, I believe it was McClary. I'll have to look here. Let me look it up here. Yeah, McClary. Okay. So they are here above the map. They come back down to Elma. Then they drive to Oakville. They drive back to his house and see the $50 is still sitting there. So they take it. Then they drive back to Oakville. Okay. And then they do something really strange, as if this isn't strange enough already. instead of going back to where the truck is, okay, so instead of going all the way back to where the truck is stalled out or left behind, they go to a random fork in the road and they drop her off, okay? So I'm going to go to that random fork in the road and I'm going to show you. They drop her off at this fork in the road in the middle of nowhere. And he says, you stay here. I'm going to run back to Oakville. So they just come through Oakville. He goes on a few miles down the road to Girard Road. He drops her off on the corner and says, hey, you stand here and see if Arch drives by. Maybe we can catch him. Okay. Then he drives back to Oakville, which they just came from, got gas, and then came back to the corner to see if Arch had passed his girlfriend. She says no. So then they travel on to the truck. Okay. Let me show you this. Okay. So we're going to go back to our Google Maps. Okay. Now, this right here shows you right there's that rough part of road where they can't check. Somewhere right in here is where somewhere in this location here is where the truck was stalled out. This intersection right here is where they decided. So they had come from his house, which is up here. Then they gone down to Oakville and then they drove here to this intersection and they dropped her off. Okay. So here's the intersection. Girls, let me know when you can see the intersection.
Yep.
So we're just going to spin around and look at this intersection.
I'm looking for the bench or the restaurant or.
There's a random house.
And there's, yeah.
What'd you do, stand in this field?
Right?
Maybe she sat on that guy's front porch and had coffee or something.
Or had an invisible cloak.
I don't know. So let's go back here. I'm going to share again so you guys can get an idea of this. Now, this is the story that they're telling police, okay? This is and what's sad is this is the only story. They don't even, nobody comes up with anything else. This is it. Okay, so I guess I need this. Go back to this. So this is the map that I've made. Okay, so they drop her off here. He goes back to Oakville, gets gas, which he had got gas. He said that he got gas there when he cashed the check earlier. Then he got gas again. And then he comes back and they decide to drive onto the truck. They drive onto the truck. Instead of saying, okay, if we take this truck, he's going to be stranded. They take the truck and they drive it all the way back up here to his house. Okay. So they've gone from Brooklyn to Oakville to his house, to Elma, to Brady, to Elma, back to McClary, all the way back down to his house, to Oakland, to this corner, back to Oakville, then to the truck, and then back to his house. Now, Brady, trying to decide, how sarcastic should I be today, guys? Can you tell me how sarcastic do I look today?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Give it all you got.
Okay, you gave me permission. Here we go. Okay, he said that they went up there for potatoes. Okay, so here's the intersection where she was dropped off. Let's go up here. Here's Brady. We're gonna go street view some Brady here. Okay. Brady. Let's street view on Brady. Okay, Brady, I want to see you. All right, let's go there. Let me see. Okay, so I was looking around being a smart aleck earlier, and I'm going to see if I can find what I was looking at earlier, because I was really being a smart aleck, and I was looking for somebody. They came up here for potatoes. Does this look like a potato farm to you? I mean, does this look like potatoes? I mean, somebody. I mean,
God.
is this? I was joking with the girls earlier, and I was like, "Is this extreme couponing, or we're gonna drive to this place?" And I was going down these streets, and I was hoping I could find it fairly quickly. I was going down
And
these
they don't
streets.
even have like the farmer market things you see on the side of the roads.
Well, I was going down these streets and I literally, maybe it's here. Is this it? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so there's the firehouse. Okay, so I was going down here by the firehouse. Somebody's flipping off somebody, but I was going down here and I literally found, maybe it's this way. I found a guy with a wheelbarrow halfway across the road. And so I thought I'll just stop and ask him if he has potatoes. Now I can't find him anywhere. So I was like, "Do you have potatoes?" I mean, why? Why would you drive all the way here for potatoes?
Are they sure
So
they didn't? Are they sure they didn't go to Idaho? They're right next to Idaho, right? Don't Idaho have the potatoes? You know.
Lori says maybe they dug him up by the fence using radar. It's like, I don't know. I was hoping I could find the guy with the wheelbarrow and ask him again, "Do you have potatoes? Do you have potato?" But it was funny because I mean, he was right here somewhere. I'll find it after the show, and then it won't be there, and it won't be as funny. But I was like, "Potatoes? Anybody? Where's you have potatoes?" And it was literally a guy with a wheelbarrow full of some kind of crap. It's like, "Hey, oh, here he is! I found him! I found him!" Okay, let me share. Let me share again. He's right there by the firehouse. There, this guy. Maybe he has potatoes. Okay, enough sarcasm. Get back to work. Get back to work. Sit over. Come on. Straight up. Okay, so this is the story that they're telling police. Okay, now we're all making fun of it and being facetious here. But they drove all of these miles up there to get potatoes, and I'm sitting here going, okay, here's the thing: the more a convoluted a story gets, the easier it is to discredit it. Okay, I want to know why the police back then in 1986, a lot of the good majority of gas stations were full service. Now, all of you young whippersnappers don't even know what that is. That means that you didn't put your own gas in your car. Somebody came out of the building, put gas in the car for you. You told them how much to put in there, and they washed your windshield and sometimes checked your oil while you sat in the car. And then um, and even if it wasn't a full service, you would still have to go in to pay. You couldn't pay at the pump. So there was no way in this little town that he could have gone to the same gas station twice without the gas station attendant noticing him. So did the police go and say, check his alibi? Did he come by here at such and such time? Well, yeah, I seen him and he had his girlfriend with him. Well, did he come back through here at such and such time? Yeah. Was his girlfriend with him that time? No. These things should be able to be easily verified or discredited. Then you go up to the fact that in one town they went to see his daughter. I'm not sure if they picked his daughter up or they just went to see her, what the deal with that is. Debbie says, you sound like you're all stoned. and that goes in with me and Tammy, because I told Tammy, I said, you would have to be on dope for that alibi to make sense. And I'm like, and Tammy, she said, well, maybe you should tell your audience that they need to drink a few before they come on, and maybe they will understand this better than we do.
Maybe they can explain it to us.
Maybe they can explain it. So,
Right.
but this is the thing. Debbie, we sound like we're stoned. I have never been stoned in my life. I'm a preacher's kid, and there's a lot of alcoholics in my bloodline, so I've never touched this stuff. But that's okay. But the thing with it is this is the story that the logical police are supposed to be thinking, well, that don't make no sense. They're the ones that's supposed to be thinking, wait a minute. Where in the world does that make sense? Okay. So, this is where I want to go with this. I didn't see anywhere where they interviewed Earl's daughter to see if he actually came to see her that day. I didn't see anything where they interviewed them at the bank to see if Earl actually cashed a $50 check that day. I didn't see anything where they interviewed the gas station attendants. I didn't see anything. Heck, if they went and got potatoes from the guy pushing the wheelbarrow, maybe maybe they could have asked him.
And those would have
I
all
don't see.
easily been checked out if the
That's the
police
point.
went and asked.
Exactly.
There's no
That's the
way
point.
they would not have been seen if they were really there.
See, this is the thing. All of that, we're making fun of it, we're teasing it, we're being sarcastic. But how else do you approach this? None of that makes sense. And then here's something, if all of that somehow makes sense to you, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to jump right back to that wonderful little map I made. Let me know when you see it, girls.
It's there.
Yep.
Okay, I tried to enlarge it a little bit. I think I enlarged it too much. Okay. Earl drove a green Nova, and there was someone who seen him. Okay. Now, he said that they left his house just before noon and traveled east along this road headed towards Oakville. They were traveling east and they found the truck. Okay. So they found the truck. They said, just afternoon, like 12:15, something around in there. I didn't write down the exact time they said they found it. The problem is, here's the problem. There was a witness named Jameson. Jameson knew that car and knew who it belonged to. And after all of this kind of hit the news that Archer was missing, he calls the police and he says, wait a minute. He goes, I remember seeing Earl in that green Nova of his. He said it was 1:30 and he was traveling. He's like, I had just left Brooklyn and he was traveling west. He was not traveling east. So this means 45 minutes to an hour after they said that they had found the truck and went on to Oakville and then went north, they were spotted going west, heading back towards Brooklyn at 1:30. Now, this man drove to Oakville, spend time in Oakville, come back through here before 6 p.m. And he said when he came back down this same road to head back towards Brooklyn, that truck was not there. Now, there is a little bit of a discrepancy and I would like to see the original reports to find out which is true or if there's actually a discrepancy. Some people say that he saw the truck stranded there on his way out. And then another account of this story says that he did not see the truck either time. He just seen Earl at a certain time. And then when he came back through, the truck wasn't there either. So I would like to know, which one is it? Did Jameson ever see that truck stranded beside the road? Because there is some evidence that the truck could have not ever been there. Okay. And the reason being is they did bring out search dogs. They brought out search dogs, scent dogs, and they found a handkerchief that they thought might have been his, but the dogs did not hit on the place where the truck was supposed to be. They also never said or showed anything where they matched tire impressions to his truck in that location. Okay, so the dogs did hit on something about a quarter of a mile away, okay, down the road. So was his truck ever there? That is the question that I would like desperately answered. And of course, I don't have access to the police files or anything like that, and so I can't verify if they verified this. And so, and since it's still technically open, it's an open case, They won't share it with a FOIA request. So this is where we're stuck. It's been 38 years. The family still doesn't know anything, and until the granddaughter started really kicking this in high gear and trying to talk about it and kick up a fuss and trying to do some stuff on social media, this case had pretty much been forgotten outside the family. Now, this is where I find it desperately horrible because Earl and Rosa both changed their stories 2 or 3 different times. Then Earl decided that he was a little bit nervous because he felt like maybe somebody took his brother by mistake and he was the actual target. And this is what he's telling the police. He never would tell the police why he thought that. He never would tell the police anything. And yet it seems like the investigation didn't go anywhere. They talked to a few people. They sent out the scent dogs. And then by April 3rd, I believe is what it was. Tammy, you can correct me if you've got that written down. It seems by April 3rd or so, they had closed. They hadn't closed the case, but they had stopped searching. They said all
Yeah.
throughout this, they keep saying that it wasn't a high priority because he was a grown man, he was very physically fit, and he was accustomed to the outdoors. But I'm thinking this is something that people knew about this man. He drank from the time he got up to the time he went to bed. So he had been drinking at his brother's house while they were cutting wood. There's a discrepancy whether or not there was an open beer bottle in the truck.
And also
So
with the
there's
bandana,
nothing, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he stepped out of the truck to go pee and fell and hurt himself. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility that he stepped off of something that he thought he could step on and fall down a little cliffside or anything. I mean, just because you're acclimated to the woods doesn't necessarily mean that when you're inebriated, you're not going to hurt yourself out there.
Yeah.
And so
With-
what was you trying to say, Cricket?
with the bandana, I believe they found that on the second day. The dogs didn't
And
find that the first day.
kind of in a little bit of a
It was in
kind of in a
a
little bit of a
drain.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the dogs did have an article, were given an article of his to sniff. Now, when the wind is blowing, or not even blowing, because it just travels, the scent travels. So just that bandana being where it was could have made that scent travel a quarter of a mile. The truck did not ever have to even be there.
Right. Well, and see, that's the thing. The truck, we're not 100% sure the truck was there.
Exactly.
So, and they did say in the little bit of a report that they were reading on that podcast that the truck had been moved, and so the whole site had been compromised for evidence. And so here's my thing. This is my thought. They said that Rosa was a very odd person. Some people later on would say that they thought she was just flat out crazy. She owned 60 acres or so. We're not 100% sure exactly how much. Right across the road from Earl. Town rumor says that he's in a well on her property, or that he's been stumped on her property, or he's been buried on her property. I found it interesting listening to some other podcasts. They didn't know what this is something they were on this podcast. They were doing a great job, but they were making a big deal out of things that seemed strange to them. When you're studying a case, you need to realize that that person is raised in the society that may be different than yours. Okay. So you need to learn about their society, and then you can go through the case and see what's odd. Now they were talking about the $50. They thought that that was something. Now they said that when they went up north to that town of McClary, that there was a shop that worked on chainsaws, and Earl needed his chainsaw worked on, so they went there to drop off the chainsaw. So they thought that was odd. That, well, what was wrong with the chainsaw, and was trying to connect the chainsaw to the missing persons case. I'm like, they're loggers. I find it odd that they would take their chainsaw to a shop, but not everybody's like my country boys who can fix their own small engine repair stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe they didn't have the part, or maybe there was a specific something that they needed that they couldn't do. But taking a chainsaw to a repair shop when you're a logger family, you're in a logging family, that's not odd, you know. And then there was a thing where they were talking about cheap tree bark peeling, and they were making a big deal. Well, what is bark peeling? Maybe it has to do with, this or that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Bark peeling, a better term for it might be bark debarking a tree. When you're logging, you want to get that bark off of there because it'll hold in moisture, it'll hold in bugs and all that, and your tree will deteriorate, your log will rot. And so to keep the rot at a bay and make the log last longer, while they're trying to transport it or store it or whatever, they take the bark off. But so why am I telling you this? All of you, a lot of you guys who like to research these kinds of things and study these kinds of things. So I'm encouraging you, when you go to study a case that's outside of your own area, study what's going on in that area, because you'll find yourself going down all these rabbit holes where you think something is odd. Well, I don't think the $50 is odd at all. I'm not even sure the $50 thing was real, because the only person that has any idea about the $50 is someone who's changed their story 3 times. But the $50, he's paying for the half a load of wood that he kept, but then, the idea of taking a chainsaw into the shop, that's not odd in their situation, so of debarking a tree isn't odd. This is an area that has a logging festival every year. They have had this festival. It's called the Saginaw Logging Days. So they have this lumberjack type festival where you have someone heffing the logs, someone climbing the tree as fast as possible. You've got people sawing, seeing who can, that it's their festival. So their whole world is that. So when you're studying something like this, make sure you understand the society they come from, or you're going to end up going down rabbit trails that seem odd to you, but that are not odd to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So going on past that, the police start looking for suspects. Okay. To me, you don't need to look for suspects. Everyone's a person of interest to begin with. Everyone is suspect to begin with. You start by their circle first. You find that inner circle of people and you eliminate them first, and then you move out. Okay? They can't eliminate Earl and Rosa. They can't eliminate them. So they definitely don't necessarily need to be moving out. They don't need to be expanding their circle. But they did go ahead and look out. Now, Archer was kind of known throughout the area. A little bit of maybe a little bit of a rowdy rouser, a little bit of a, he kind of enjoyed trouble. He was a roughneck, tough guy. His neighbor, Fred March, actually had taken him to court for some trespassing ordeals. But Archer was actually acquitted. So the police look at him first. They thought, well, maybe there's still some animosity there. Fred actually had left the area to go work in Alaska for a short time on, I think they said, a fishing boat. But he's like, my wife's there. You can look at anything you need. You can check anything. Here's my contact information. Call me. Do what, I'll be there to help you however you need. So he was very open, and they eliminated him pretty quickly because he's like, here's my land. Check everything you need. I'm going to be on this boat out of the area, but here's how you get a hold of me. And so this was, they eliminated him pretty quickly. But this is where I have a hard time. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that nobody wants to talk about how the relationship between Earl and Archer was. They were known to drink all day, and they were known to fight occasionally. Okay, so how is this beyond the realm of possibility that they were drunk, they were cutting wood, which to me, chainsaws and alcohol are two things. Don't ever put those two things together, people. That's just asking for trouble. But this is where they could have fought right there. Now, Cricket, you brought up something that we didn't quite explain yet. This is the story that Rosa gave the police. She said that Arch was over at Earl's house from about 7 till 11 cutting wood. And then they stopped for a little bit of lunch, and she walked across the street and ate some lunch with them. And then she walked back over to her house, and she realized that the hay bale that she needed to feed her animals with was too heavy. So she walked back across the street and asked Arch to come over and help her with feed her animals. And he did, according to her. Now, everybody, Cricket, you said everybody was wondering, that was kind of odd. Why would she ask Arch over when she was dating Arch's brother, Earl, and he was sitting right there? Why didn't she ask Earl? I don't know. We're still talking about two people who had been drinking all day and gave us this convoluted story of going this way and that way, and then moving the truck and destroying the crime scene. So to me, we don't know. And this is what's devastating. Earl and Rosa both are dead. Earl and Rosa both are gone. They're gone.
And they're the only ones who know.
Mm-hmm. And nobody in the family talked about it. They're from a huge family. They had 6 brothers and 4 sisters, and nobody wanted to talk about it, because if they did, they would have to implicate their own brother in their brother's murder. So nobody wanted to talk about it for years, until the granddaughter starts kicking up a stink. And according to 3 years ago, when they made all those videos, she had actually gotten a hold of the landowner that owns Rosa's property now. Now, when she finally pushed through those barriers and got people to talking, she said the family blames Rosa. The family tries to push all of the blame on her, which of course they're going to do. They're going to minimize their brother's culpability as much as possible. They blame her and said that she did something to Archer and he's buried on her property. Well, if she did do something to Archer, which she was known to carry a gun, she was known to, there was a rumor through town that she had shot up a bar once when she got angry. All of that's rumor mill stuff. We have no way of verifying that. But the current owner of the property said when the granddaughter approached him and asked if they could search on his property, he said, and he started relating stories to her about how people in the area were trying to discourage him from buying the place in the first place. They're like, you don't want to buy that place. Trust us. You don't want to buy that place. And he bought it anyways. And he's like, I wonder if that has something to do with this. And he did agree to do a civilian search with dogs. And one good thing is it wasn't a rental property or something that had changed hands 100 times. It actually went from Rosa to her son, and then her son sold it to this man. And his words were Rosa was crazy as a loon, or was crazy, and her son was very odd. We won't say his name. Her son was very odd. So here's where we're at. That was as of 3 years ago, I believe is what it was, February 2021. And so here 3 years later, there's no movement on the case. Nothing's changed. We still have a convoluted, crazy story. The police stopped searching for him after 2 days. They said, well, maybe he just decided to go start a new life somewhere. Well, he just married this woman. He'd been married a few times before, but he had just married this woman. He had started something new already. And nobody believed he would walk away from his family. So they stopped looking after 2 days. They interviewed a few people, but it doesn't look like they did anything. And this is what's so devastating, because that story would be so easy to verify or discredit. They just had to talk to a few people, you know.
Yeah.
They had to they never did anything. It didn't look like they interviewed the gas station attendant. They didn't look, or did they interview the banker? Did they interview whoever she got potatoes from? Did they interview, I mean, did they interview the daughter? Did they interview the chainsaw shop? You know,
And in my opinion, because there is no evidence of nothing.
mhm.
So in my opinion, it's logical to believe that the brothers got into a fight and something happened and they had to take it from there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because there's not really
It's
a
not.
motive,
Mm-mm. No.
you know?
To me, it sounds like they were drinking. They were known to drink from the time they got up to the time they go to bed. They were known to have some spats before. Beyond spats, who's to say that they weren't drinking and using chainsaws and some accident happened? They're both drunk off their butts, and so they're not thinking straight. And instead of calling in an accident, they freak out and try to hide it all. You know what I mean? So here's the thing, we're not even necessarily saying homicide here. It could be an accident.
Right.
That guy, and there's still a slight chance that he stopped off the side of the road, which he didn't pull his truck completely out of the road, which is weird. He could have stopped to take a leak. I mean, and then he was drunk off his butt, and heck, he could have got snake bit. Who knows? They
Mm-hmm.
didn't take enough time to look. I mean, you look at that wilderness area, you can't tell me they searched it in 2 days. I
No.
mean,
And we don't
you
even
can't
know
search
if
an
the
area
truck,
like that in 2 days.
right. And we don't
What?
even know if the truck was where they said it was because nobody saw the truck.
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing too. We don't know. They could have taken that truck home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, they could have taken it home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The wife wasn't there to see when they brought it home. You know, so we don't know. And this is where it's left. And you have a granddaughter who's fighting to try to get some information about her grandfather out there. And she was the one that tried to call and get some help. She was the one that tried to get a FOIA request and it was denied. She made the Facebook pages. She's contacted a few people. She's reaching it out. Well, I thought, okay, well, I want to help that granddaughter. So I want you guys all to share this video. And then tomorrow, my blog post will be shared and it will go out to 1.1 million potential viewers. And maybe we can kick up a stink enough to where somebody will go ahead and finish this job, because this case is completely solvable. You know, and the sad thing is it would have been solvable a lot easier 38 years ago. This case, they said they stopped looking in 2 days. I say they could have solved the case within 2 days. All they
Yeah.
needed to do was put some pressure on Earl and Rosa. All they needed to do was search Earl and Rosa's places. All they needed to do was contradict their story, or verify it. I mean, we can't say that they did. I mean, maybe they were just drunk that bad that all of that made sense to them, and standing out in the middle of nowhere on the at the fork in the road made sense. And so this is where, his youngest daughter said on that podcast, she said, I would just like to have his remains. I'd like to bring him home and bury him, and that's what they need. They need a place to go to say goodbye to dad and grandpa, and they don't have that. and all they have is questions, and they have a huge family that everybody's too uncomfortable to talk about it, and so
And they're so
it's
brave for
devastated.
yeah, they're very brave, and I give them kudos for not backing down.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is where we are. Archer Ray Johnson, missing after helping his brother cut wood for half a day, and his truck either was or was not spotted there along the road, and then it was moved to his house, and nobody has found him or heard of him since. And so that's where this story ends. Let's go ahead and get ready for our sharing contest. Miss T, have you been seeing who's been sharing? I know Debbie and Karen.
I've got Marion, James, Haley, Venus, Karen, and Joanne.
Debbie, did you get Debbie in there? Because I seen Debbie say
No,
she shared 7.
no,
Karen
Yeah.
Langston shared.
yeah.
Okay, so Debbie and Karen Langston. Debbie and Karen.
Joanne,
I got.
Venus.
Okay. All right, so guys, this is my list. If I don't call your name, make sure and tell me. I've got Debbie, I've got Marion, I've got James, I've got Haley, I've got Venus, I got Joanne, and I got Karen. Anybody else that I'm missing?
I thought you got them all.
And Debbie. I've got Debbie. And I've got Debbie. Okay, so can you see my wheel?
Yep.
Okay, Debbie, Marion, James, Haley, Venus, Joanne, and Karen. Here we go. We're going to spin, see who our winner is. Let's see. Anybody else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, I think that's it. Nobody said anything. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to spin it. Haley.
Congratulations.
Haley. Okay. All right. So Haley, I will send you these pair of. I'm going to send you these. I have to put something up behind them so they don't shine too much. You can actually see them. Oh, I just dropped them in the floor. You're going to get some earrings. Get some skull-shaped earrings after I get them picked up out of the floor. They fell onto my desk. So, Haley, I will send you some earrings next time. I've got some bullet pins for the guys. So if you guys decide to share, I got a gift for the guys now, so the guys don't have to worry about getting girly gifts all the time. So, okay, guys, you want to say goodbye, Cricket?
Have a good night, everyone. See you next week, and invite your friends.
Oh wait, I have one more announcement before we get off. My book about
Madhouse
Madison County is now available on my website for pre-order. So make sure and go on my website for pre-order and get that pre-order in. You'll get an autographed copy. If you wait and just order it off of Amazon, it won't be autographed. So make sure and get that pre-ordered now. I'm hoping it'll be live in the next week. So go over to my website. I put the link in the video description. Go over to my website, get your book pre-ordered. All right, let's do the end credits. Cricket, Tammy, did you say bye?
Oh, goodbye.
All right, here's our end credits. Bye, guys. Thanks for signing on.